call to order. Hello, everyone. We'll do attendance first.
Commissioner Elton,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Carroll Waterhouse,
Here.
Commissioner Winburn.
Here. Next is acceptance of minutes. However, I don't know if we've all had a chance to look at them. I haven't. They're usually in the agenda, which is I was just pulling up. So I vote that, or motion that we postpone acceptance of minutes until our next meeting when we all have had a chance to look at them.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carroll Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. Next on our agenda is public participation, but we can skip that. I don't think there's anyone here from the public or online that wants to speak, but okay. And then next is the commissioner report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item is the review of the Urban Forestry Tree Commission duties and responsibilities. Just putting this on your radar regarding, we've had some other pieces to this, so this is the official article in the ordinance that sort of identifies that. So I wanted to make sure the commission had that available to them as we discuss sort of where we're going and what we're doing and the things that we can do and the things that need to go to planning or need to go to regulatory services or go to other departments who are ultimately responsible for more of those things when it comes to building and zone use and zoning and land use and all of those functionalities. So that's what that one is. It was informational, so I would just ask that we file that item unless there's some questions.
Yeah, is there any questions or comments or discussion?
Can I get a copy of that?
It was, yeah, so I assume it's in the agenda notes.
It is.
But,
So are we to just download that ourselves off the city website, or are you gonna resend?
I can resend it, so I can do that. I don't know, I thought I sent it, but my apologies. It has been posted on the city's website and their agenda items, so it is there, but I'll send it back out to you.
I'm digging it up, so I can also email it if that's easier, because I
Okay.
know it's a little, digging through the city website can be a little.
Yeah, just for future reference,
Challenging.
anything that's there on the city website, does that include all the attachments?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, everything is included in it.
And also, not that I'm looking at it right now, but I assume it's the ordinance, right? There's an ordinance to create this commission, and the responsibilities of the commission is in the ordinance, which is on the Google Drive under our notes for tree ordinance. The draft of the ordinance is there.
Yeah, so it's it's part of the ordinance that defines the commission and what their roles and responsibilities are. Or as they put it, I think it's the duties. It does say Department of Public Works and Parks, that hasn't been changed yet, because that was when it was first created. But as we move forward through this year and into next year, that will count fiscal year for us, that will get changed as well.
What changed about,
The department name.
what is it?
So it's now the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cemetery. And
You have
before,
separated from Public Works?
from Public Works.
Okay.
So it was before Public Works and Parks.
Okay.
All right, if there's no discussion, but I will point out to the commission that it's in the meeting notes from or the agenda for this meeting, and the one that had to get canceled in March, it was there too. And it's also the draft_tree ordinance. It's also duties and responsibilities of the commission is listed there as well. But otherwise, motion to file, as that is informational, pointing out information.
Second.
Copy.
Oh, yeah, it's beefy. Okay. Thank you. I know, I was slow to get up.
Oh, for me.
Yep, it's identical to, yeah.
It's even got the plants. Trees.
Yeah, inventory and analyze public tree canopy to identify species conditions, review the GIS layer, including check. It's like a nice little check, we did that. That's okay. Recommend guidelines for tree removal, replacement. Make recommendations to prioritize expansion of trees. Assist in the creation of connected networks of shaded corridors. Recommend a program for donation of trees for public spaces. Recommend development standards for tree retention, replacement, planting for private projects that meet size thresholds. And assist the city and its various boards and committee with increasing the public shade tree inventory by recommending policies related to its protection. Those are our main duties and responsibilities. All right, so we motioned and got a second, so next is roll call on that.
Who made the motion and who seconded?
I made the motion and AJ seconded it.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway, Whitehouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes.
The next item, Madam Chair, is Arbor Day. It's just informational, again, for our Arbor Day event, which will be Friday, April 24th at 10 a.m. on Worcester Common. So you are invited to attend if you're available. If anybody is and would like to speak, if you can let me know. More than happy to have one of you speak at it as well, if you'd like. So I would just need to know by the beginning of that week if someone's interested and someone's going to attend. Other than that, my recommendation would be just to file the item.
Is anybody planning to attend?
I'm going to attend.
All right, yeah.
Thought about speaking.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it either, but it starts at 10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
I have to be at another Arbor Day event at 12:30, but if,
We're quick.
if I'm speaking at 10, I can speak.
We're quick.
Happy to,
So.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
just
sign me
just
up.
let me know
I'll
if,
email, yeah, I'll
if
email.
one of you is interested.
Do you have is a tree being planted? Anything else going on?
Yeah. So at our next meeting, we'll have the next item. So the next informational piece goes to council for next week. So it's not available yet. But yes, so there's the resolution is already taken care of with the mayor. We're going to be planting a tree on the Worcester Common. So the tree's going to serve two purposes. The tree's going to be our Arbor Day tree and also represent a planting in recognition of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. We're going to have, not for that day, but for later on, we'll have a plaque that will be adjacent to the tree that will acknowledge that it's there for Arbor Day 2026 as well as the 250th anniversary. And we chose Worcester Common specifically, one, because of the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and I couldn't fit a tree out front where the Declaration was actually read at one point. But also, we did it there because of the historic nature of the Common and the main seat of government for Worcester.
Did you use the tree list to choose a tree?
We used the tree that Brian was able to, we were looking for a very large tree that will sort of shade that area for us. So what'd we go with, Brian?
Quercus rubra, 3 to 3.5 inch.
For that area, so that's what we're gonna be using there. We're only gonna do one. It's not enough room for a tree, the future of what that tree's gonna have. But we lost a tree there last year?
Couple of years ago.
So it's a good fit for the location.
Just FYI, the sycamore tree was the tree in 1776 that everybody planted because it was General Lafayette's favorite tree. And there's still a bunch of sycamores around that were planted from his time.
Okay,
That's cool.
great.
They do well there. They're water, water hungry trees. No comments. Awesome. All right, a motion to file Arbor Day update.
Motion to file the Arbor Day update.
You need a second?
Yep.
Seconded.
Commissioner Alton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes.
So, Madam Chair, the next item is the forestry work type breakdown for the first quarter. So on the breakdown in the package, sort of breaks down all of the work types that we ended up working on for January through March. We've talked about trying to do that quarterly, on a quarterly basis, so this is our quarter for us, it's quarter 3, for the rest of the world, it's quarter 1, on that side of it, but our fiscal years are different, so. So we put it as the first quarter, just so for ease of reference. I would recommend, if there's no questions, just to file it.
Is there any questions or comments about the pie chart? And the- yeah.
Is it possible to, along with a percentage, also receive like number of trees pruned actually? Like curious, like how many young trees were pruned specifically? And large trees, and removals, I mean, all of it, just like along with percentage, actual numbers. Is that possible?
I'll work with Brian and should try to look to do that.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm also happy if you send me a Excel spreadsheet. I can make lots of fun figures, so happy to do that. Or if it's as a GIS shape file, because I imagine it's like the updated inventory information.
Okay.
Can convert that into a file to plot.
I do have a question. I forget that, did we request,
On my task.
and did you tell us whether or not you are able to keep that information by district? Are you recording by district?
Yes,
You are.
district and address.
Okay.
Every tree that's worked on is altered or changed at the end of
Brian,
each
you
day.
gotta turn your thing on.
Yeah, so it's tracked daily. Any manipulation to any tree is tracked. So whether it's pruned, trimmed, removed, storm cleanup, only on public city trees. So we had a large wind event, and I would say a high percentage of those trees were were private trees that we cleaned up, so you won't see those in there. But yes, everything's tracked.
I ask so that we, like, you know, whenever these updates happen for the master plan, we can see the changes across the zones from
Yep.
time period to time period. Thank you.
Is it updated in like a GIS kind of format, or?
Yeah, so if the tree's at 33 Highland Street, that specific tree, that address or that work order that we've created that's linked to that particular tree is updated. So if it's a removal, it's a removal. If a contractor does it, it's noted that a contractor. If we have the Eversource or National Grid do work, that's noted within that. It's pretty detailed. And if our tree crews do pruning on small trees, that's noted specifically to that tree and that site.
Okay, so you can look up by property address, property number.
Yes, site address,
the
which
way-
would be,
and then
correct,
Under that would be everything done there.
correct. We
Great,
could
thank
do
you.
site address, we can do species, yes.
Oh, okay.
Is it possible for me to get like a, whatever form of data you can give me to make pretty plots? Can separate it up
Yeah.
by district and age and all sorts of fun
Yeah,
things.
we can, I'll talk to Rob about that and see how we can format that
Yeah.
and see if we can do that.
All right, I'll put it on my email Rob list. Email about Arbor Day and
Yep.
making fun figures. Because once I like set up the code to make the figures, we can just like plop in a CSV file every quarter or whatever, and just go click go, and it'll make lots of pretty figures. So that'll be fun and very important to the updating the urban forestry master plan as we go along as a commission. Okay, so if no other questions or discussion points on that, file a motion to file.
Motion to file?
Second.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the next item is a report not generated by our department, but generated by Economic Development regarding tree canopy protections. So it's a memo from Economic Development regarding that topic. So it's for your review and information on our end of it.
Yeah, Joy, I think we both maybe asked to have this included in the agenda. I know Joe and Robin just saw it for the first time a few moments ago. It was timely that we were able to review the Urban Forestry Tree Commission duties and responsibilities just a moment ago that include private trees on it. So we know that part of what they're talking about, which is all very, very exciting, includes what we do here. Looking at what they're talking about, it's also exciting, the work that we've done recently on the Worcester Best Management Practice Manual just last year, I think, should inform, at least be a starting point, if not more than that, for some of the work that looks like they're gonna be doing, or we're gonna be doing, or we're all gonna be doing, over, I don't know what the time period is. And I'm curious to see where it goes and looking forward to being a part of it.
Yeah, are we expected to have input or recommendations for them or vice versa?
I would envision that if you have recommendations, that we can forward those to Economic Development from the commission side. It's like what most of our commissions do is recommend to others depending on, where that's gonna live in the end, right? So if that's gonna be a zoning planning component, regulatory item, then it sort of falls there, kind of thing. So, yeah, I would say if you have recommendations or you wanna put those together, we can move those over to, to those departments for that review.
And, would you be able to tell us, Rob, like, these other departments where these rules could end up living? Could you tell us who would do the enforcement if it becomes an ordinance, like, if it's a tree ordinance, it's you guys, forestry, but if it's in zoning, do they have a different enforcement?
So they do, and it really depends on how whatever ordinance changes and how it is identified in the ordinance. So it's a little odd sometimes because there are things where You would think it would be under one department, and it's really not. So sometimes some things are under inspectional services, because they're the ones that truly have the inspectors that go out and look at, housing developments and development projects. So a lot of times, a lot of those functionalities go through there, whereas Concom or planning don't have the inspection component within there. They don't have the staff for the inspection component. So it really depends on, again, on how the ordinance is written and where the agreement comes on where that's going to live for the enforcement side.
What are the other options besides those two and you guys?
So there's DPW has enforcement for some things. Parks would have, or Forestry would have some. Inspectional Services would have the other. Conservation Commission has some as well. They just don't have somebody to go out and inspect everything all the time. So sometimes it tends to fall for planning, zoning, and that sort of falls on inspectional services.
How many staff does inspectional services have? Do you know?
I don't off the top of my head.
That's okay.
So remember, right, inspectional services has electrical inspectors, plumbing inspectors, building inspectors. So there may have a large number, but the number that would look at that functionality may be relatively small, right, when it comes to available staff for that. And then a lot of that is only geared towards construction projects, right, when they're going to a job that's where construction is happening, and they're going to do that. That's sort of that could be part of the side component of what they end up doing.
I have a question to follow up on that. Inspectional services, do they have anyone with knowledge of arboriculture, trees, that would be able to inspect?
That I don't know.
The follow-up question to that is, do we desire that? Yes, I see a head going, okay. Is that something that the committee should look into? I don't know how to phrase this in it might be
Well-
a separate motion, actually.
So I think it would be if you're looking to do that, it would be a recommendation that on your end, in review of that particular ordinance or whatever, that you would recommend that somebody who has those qualifications, whatever those qualifications may be. So is it, environmental
arborist.
education? Is it arborist? Is it something else? Be the one to do that. Now, whether or not that happens or not is a secondary piece, but that would be from you the recommendation for the ordinance. And then where would it live too? I mean, you can always recommend where it would live too. Where the enforcement side of it would live.
Other questions and comments regarding this topic?
Rob, do you think the economic development or the Executive Office of Economic Development is, and I would expect not, is familiar with the best management practice manual that we've worked on? Like, at some point, I mean, just the memo, it sounds like, at least details of it, somewhere down the road, it would be something that they would be looking into, having details for protecting trees on private property. Like how familiar outside of this room are people in the city with that manual? Is it something that should be shared now? Is it something that should be shared at some point with this process?
So they're aware of it. Whether or not we've given them the final draft, I'd have to go back and look, but it's one of those items that, at any point in time, we can ship that to them. They were aware we were working on it, and if you remember when Michelle was here the last time, you know, I think we touched on it when we talked to her the last time she was here,
Yeah,
or the first time she was here.
sort of foggy on the timeline where we were
Yeah,
and
it was
when that happened.
A year
March.
ago,
Yeah, it was
March of last year. I think we had her here. And I think I had said to her in other conversations that we were working on that item. We have given it to DPW, so all of that has gone to DPW on their end of it. But we can resend that out as well as a document for them as a resource so that they have it now. And then
Yeah.
as we make changes to it, we can resend that out. But we can make a note of that and, you know, take care of that within the next couple of days.
Awesome, thank you.
So I realize in old business, we have review of city ordinance discussion, which I believe it was in a past meeting, but it should be in this deck of agenda items, is some of the
It's in there.
ordinance
It should
notes.
be.
I think I called, yeah, tree ordinance research and discussion points. So for right now, if there's no further comments and discussion, I say that we file this item, but with recognition that like some pieces will come up again as we review and talk about ordinances. And maybe to plant a seed for discussion is, should we as a commission consider writing something for a formal recommendations of what we would recommend to the I'm gonna say the acronym wrong, but EOED. That includes things like, here's the best management practices guide, and also the research, our recommendations as a commission on how we should think the ordinance should be updated, and those intersections that exist with zoning and planning. So I'll plant that seed and motion that we file that agenda item, agenda 5D.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes,
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Woodhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winford.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the last item on my agenda is the Newton Hill and Elm Park Master Plan update. So if you look over to your left, we had our first meeting last week on this topic. We had right, it was last week, yeah, it was last week. Last Thursday, right? Oh, yeah, and then we met with the students as well, on site, did a walkthrough. So what you see on the right-hand side of that is the non-colored version. There's a red dotted line that sort of encompasses sort of the area that we've instructed the students to be able to work through, and reimagine that area. And then on your left-hand side is existing conditions, sort of, well, not all existing because there's a bunch of trees that are gone, but what it looks like today. So we walked the site with the students, both us, Beals and Thomas, our landscape architects, and Brian Beverleri walked with the students. We actually have a meeting with them at UMass Amherst on Friday, where we're going to meet with them to take any additional questions or look at where they sort of stand. It's a tight timeline overall. It's just really condensed because it's only 6-7 weeks for the students. But in that studio, they're moving forward on some design plans. We anticipate we'll have 9 different designs that they'll bring forward. And then at the next meeting that is going to be in May, we'll have those up. The students will present those. We're going to do it in the Park View room over at Cornerstone Bank. That's adjacent to Elm Park or Newton Hill. And, you know, we'll have a system where residents can put in green stickers on the things that they like, and then we'll condense those 9 designs into one design based on sort of the feedback that we're getting on that end of it. So that's where we stand right now. They did not attend our meeting, our public meeting, but we taped it and sent the tape to them, so they have the comments from the public that were here, and talked about that side of it. They'll have access to this as well, so if you have any question, if you have anything that you want to express or anything else, now's the time to be able to do that. And you can sort of see that, you know, now would be the time for that, so that we can get that to the students as well, so that they can include any of your comments. We'll be doing that again next Thursday at the Parks Commission meeting. We'll give the Parks Commission and anybody that attends the Parks Commission meeting that same availability to make any comments, and then they'll be able to have that video as well. So it's a little difficult to try to get the students all here to Worcester from Amherst so many times. So what we've tried to do is really have them site visit and final visit, and then the rest of it's gonna be more so virtual and these meetings, so if there are no other, if at the end, if after any discussion, my recommendation would be to file the item, but otherwise, any comments that you may have or anything else, please let us know.
Will you have them use the tree list?
So that's on the agenda today. Once the tree list is, you're comfortable with it, then, yeah, we can ship that to them as well, so.
I think you finished it.
Rob, again, when is the public meeting at the bank?
May 9th? I don't know, hold on, I'll look.
That's a Saturday?
Nah, it's not Saturday. It's a Thursday night, I think, May 7th.
How's that being advertised?
May 7th at 6. So that will go to city council at an upcoming meeting, and then we'll use social media on that side as well from the city manager's component to get that out. We also did send cards out to all the residents within 1,000 feet of Newton Hill for the first one, and we'll do that again for the second one.
Okay.
Will it be on the city website, posted on the calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
It will not be virtual, though.
Okay.
So that meeting will not be virtual.
Are any further comments or questions on this item?
Comments about what you want would be really beneficial. So if there are any comments, what you want, we talked to them about trees. Brian was very specific with that. We talked to them about thinking through larger trees, instead of doing 2.5, doing something larger in certain species. So we get some age difference between what we're planting. Thinking about maybe doing future plantings, so maybe there's a phased planting approach to it. So we do an initial planting, and then in 3 to 5 years we do another planting, and then 3 to 5 years we do another planting, and we identify where those are going to be, and so that we can work around those. You know, when we're designing it out, we'll work around those sites and not put utilities in the middle of the way or anything else that would, you know, would reduce the capability of us to plant there. So those kinds of things we talked about. Brian talked to them about species as well, and we can ship them the list if the commission is comfortable with that. We talked to them about sort of, you know, redesigning it. How do we make it a little bit more like, there's no like real true like entrance to it, right? So how do you make that look better? Like, how do you make an entrance look better, kind of thing? So we've given them that guidance. We've pretty much told them that the only two things that can't move are the monument and the building. Everything else, they can move around, they can, you know, change, they can do all of that kind of stuff. So that's sort of where we are. And then everything has to be accessible. So we want to make sure that that we may keep the stairs that are there because they're you know, they're part of the dynamic of the facility, but we want to make sure that the majority of the entrances and everything that's inside is accessible.
Is tonight our only chance to comment?
No, you can comment tonight, you can comment next week at Parks Commission if you want. You have any other thoughts, you can ship it to our forestry email account, or at the last meeting, when the kids do their presentation, you can make comments there as well. So there's still a couple of steps before that, but ideally, for us, we would like to have any of your comments, you know, by the time of the presentation by the students, so that if there's anything that the students don't do, and it's something that maybe we want to add, we can incorporate that into that sort of condensed, you know, sort of final design guidebook that we'd be looking to do. So there's other opportunities.
On the way out, can I take photos of the?
Yeah. Yep.
Bob, I went to the meeting as well, and after I reviewed my notes, I pulled out that there was a lot of comments about power being available for the concerts, because they pull a cable a long way. Concern about that water fountain, getting it functional in there, making sure that it has, you know, the little dog bowl, but I think every new fountain comes with that now. They also talked about the heavily eroded area where the hill comes down in the middle. Ideas came out about stadium seating, erosion, sledding, things like that in the area. And the last that it was kind of important is although we're not going to be doing the gardens, people are going to be doing them, we need to supply water better. It's one of the key things for these nature garden, native gardens, and so on. They need to be able to get water. I know the DPW had a program for the gardens, community gardens, where they provided spigots.
Yes.
Because like there's 2 down in Indian Lake they put in for us. I thought that was a very nice program. You know, so that shouldn't be a problem. So those were the things that they talked about that I saw at the meeting. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So the final meeting of the students is May 7th,
Yes.
and our next meeting is May 6th. So we can also, yeah, we can talk before then, the day before. But if anybody has more ideas. I guess I have one curiosity question, having
Yep.
driven through that area and like staring at that map. Is there a long-term plan of doing renovations to the roadways there that the
Yes.
city's talking about?
Yeah,
And
so-
what are those conversations? Yeah.
So
and
there was a design meeting held at Doherty a couple of weeks ago for Highland Street.
Mhm.
So it goes from Park Ave to the Rotary. And so there's already been a design for what that's going to look like. I've asked for that design so I can at least give that to the students. Maybe that may help them. But I think the guidance that I'm seeing, at least what I saw, was that the Rotary gets smaller because it's kind of odd when you're coming up Pleasant Street towards the Rotary. There's 2 full lanes there, and it you know, it's a little weird coming into that. And so I think there's some discussion about changing some of the dynamic of the way the Rotary currently works in some way. But nothing had been confirmed as of yet.
Well, you just push that one person out of the way. Like, it's real easy.
Yeah.
Just remember, if you're driving that way, if you're coming up, you don't have a stop sign. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, if no other comments or discussion points, I motion to file that.
Second?
Commissioner Alton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, next on our agenda is old business, for which we have 3 items. And the first item is one that kind of stays in old business, setting goals for the commission. The second item is to review city ordinances, and the third is to discuss our tree list. And if I'm allowed to go out of order, can I go out of order?
That's up to you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Feeling the power today. Gonna go out of order. I vote that we talk about the tree list first. Updates to the tree list. And we have the Worcester tree list in our agenda. Looks beautiful. Is this the final version, and therefore maybe a discussion on like, are we all happy with it? Like,
I haven't seen this. This is my first time looking at it.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, let me know if there's additional changes. But in Rhode Island, I'm sharing it with municipalities and offering to make edits. I haven't received any yet. We are sharing this as a master list. I'm not suggesting that they should share 90-plus trees with the public. I'm giving this to them as a master list that they can reduce down to whether it's a street tree list and that alone, maybe it's a list that is street trees and something that the planning department uses. You know, in one community, they're talking about having a street tree list and riparian. They have a lot of flooding issues and having a natural area, because a fair number of these trees aren't really suitable for streets, but are wonderful trees. So, yeah, I wouldn't just hand this to the public and say nothing else, but
so this is not my tree list that I created. I don't see any of the cultivars.
the cultivars have been added into other columns,
I see, okay.
so they are there.
And I did make notes every time something was, there were quite a lot that were appropriate for street trees, and I always made a note for that.
Those notes have been
Okay.
kept.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple cultivars that are like, ones that, like specifically thornless varieties that like you don't want to buy. There are a couple cultivars that are kept for certain reasons, but most of that information was added to the notes.
So the reason for the cultivars, when I added them, is because they were often a different size compared with the species. So is that information lost? Because that was the point of offering the cultivars, so that, you know, if you wanted a, Acer rubrum, you could choose what kind of size Acer rubrum you wanted by choosing the cultivar, and it was divided by size. Is that missing?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, but having having 15 different Acer rubrums became a lot.
I don't think I had that many on there. I think I had 3 or 4 at the
Yeah.
most for each
Well,
species.
there are already 90 plus, so I was just trying to pare it back. And then like having the images became a lot, so I don't know. Tried not to lose too much in the design.
I just have one. Can they add page headers to the breaks, page breaks? These column headers to the page breaks? Just-
Yeah,
easy.
and
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
simple stuff.
That's just like, you probably sent it as like
Probably,
a
yeah.
yeah,
Excel
some of
or
it's
something.
just the way
Yeah,
it's
right, so
been
it's-
printed.
It's not formatted, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and if, depending on how, like if you're printing the entire thing, or if you're like actually deleting certain species, like depending on what you're, since it's a master list,
Yeah.
having page numbers would change.
Oh, no, it wasn't gonna be page, I just so that they had to repeat it every time there was a page break came.
Is it like in a, what's the format that you have it saved in?
It's a Word document, so that it can be manipulated. So like
Yeah,
if,
tables look great.
Robin, it could be added back, like since it is a Word document. So it's meant that like it can be manipulated as much as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, just table.
You know, I'll have to think about this. Let me look at this more. I mean, you know, I don't have the final say, but as I said, the point of it was to create a large list that planning could use, you know, especially for commercial development that are using contractors, and they could just, you know, I can see that there's like a lot of cultivars missing. And, you know, it was meant to make it really easy for them to just land on a tree and pick it.
It's a Word document. They can be added if you
Sure,
would like to
yeah.
add them.
Well, I mean,
One comment, I have two comments, but I'm still chewing on the, one of them, but I'll mention the first one. Native species, because at first I was like, what's that little green thing? And it indicates native species to Worcester.
when I did the list, it was native to the eastern United States.
To the eastern US. But I'm looking through the list and I'm like, really? There's not more of these are not considered, Acer rubrum is not native?
It is.
Acer saturium. So it doesn't, but it only has the icon on like American holly, on pitch pine. So is it actually the opposite? Like, not native to here?
No, it should be on the native ones.
Like, it makes more sense to actually just highlight what's not native, right? There's more natives on the list than non-natives. So we might want to highlight, and I think it's actually just indicating non-natives, but it's labeled as native. But then paper birch, I thought paper birch and butternut hickory were native here. They are. Yeah, so basically that icon, I think, is not mapping correctly, because there's some that I'm like the ones I've thrown out there. Do y'all see what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure I'm not crazy. I'm like,
Which icon are
It's
you looking at?
cross-reference, it's, you can cross-reference it with the Excel sheet, it's all marked.
Oh,
in
that's,
Excel
yeah.
as to what's native, including the cultivars.
And it's not, it's just not being coded consistently correctly.
Some of it is, yeah, it could be added. Yeah, it needs to be added in other places. Yeah, it's not on Tupelo.
And the other one is, I was just thinking about the cultivars. Because it is this, like, you don't want to overwhelm and give too many options.
I feel the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, as a home gardener, I'm
Mhm.
constantly looking for comprehensive lists, you know, as to what I can plant in my small space.
Yeah.
And these lists tend to be very vague, and
Mhm.
especially for people, you know, like I said, people who are working on the planning board or who might not have any plant
Mhm.
experience,
Yeah.
you know, I believe that they're not stupid. They can sort through 90 trees, you know.
Yeah, I think the fear, which has been brought up at other meetings when we talked about this, is that what is the decision-making factors that the people deciding what plants get planted, the developers, like, it's gonna come down to what's available at a local nursery and what is the cheapest tree to buy. Am I, like, right? It comes down to like what's available and what's cheapest. We're not picking like the best cultivar of red maple. We're picking the cheapest cultivar of red
Yeah,
maple.
and I, again, like, I put a lot of work into this list, and
Yeah.
I specifically chose things that were all widely available. I did not choose hard-to-find trees.
Yeah, and then I guess maybe the next step of like figuring out that balance of like, we have an opportunity to hand to the planning department a list that when Michelle was here, she expressed how developers would like to just have a list and be able to pick off of that list. And so maybe we can identify like what the best cultivars are for them to choose from, because I don't think they're taking, the vast majority might not be taking a gardener's perspective of like, I want to carefully think about which tree species, or maybe just figuring out whichever one's cheapest and most available.
Sure, yeah.
And the most available part, it sounds like you've like looked
All,
into.
my only considerations were most available, best performing, and
Yeah.
size.
Yeah,
Because I think that, you know, like, again, with development, they're looking, we need an 8-foot tree here, we need a 20-foot tree here, we need a 40-foot tree here.
yeah,
And it's,
and that's where the cultivars kind of help. Yeah.
right. And again, I don't think I have a lot of cultivars. I have one cultivar for each size department.
Yeah,
Madam Chair, can I make a
Yep.
recommendation? So, listening to the conversation, right, it seems to me, and from previous conversations, that this list was gonna be sort of the master list,
Yeah.
right? And so, does it really matter how big the list is?
I agree, yeah. There's two
and-
goals here, a
right,
short
and
list and a
so
long list.
Maybe that needs to be sort of modified, right, and have everything. Then the commission makes a determination on what we're talking about here for a more streamlined list for the particular purposes of, what we're gonna use them for. So it's very, what we're gonna use on the street is different than what we're maybe gonna use for the planning world for parking lots and subdivisions and that kind of stuff outside of the right of way. So, you know, are we gonna think of it maybe in that fashion and say, all right, so this list, we don't care how big it is and we just make it as big as we want. And then we streamline those into these buckets for everybody where we can be very specific in regards to what those are. And then maybe every year we're looking at those, or the commission looks at those and says, you know what, yeah, I mean, this one's becoming harder to get, so let's pull something else in, and we start flipping stuff back and forth depending on what we're sort of seeing out there. And maybe we look with planning and have them, maybe they can submit to the commission, you know, an idea of what's been planted in their world, right, in their development world kind of thing. So, I don't know, just thought on how that sort of works and,
That
what
was-
I'm sort of hearing here amongst everybody. Like, I understand AJ's component, right? List is getting pretty big and, you know, we were trying to hold it, but then we listened to Robin and say, well, there was a purpose for what I was trying to do and that, and so I'm just trying to, based on what I've heard before, and now, maybe that's the direction that this commission wants to go, but it's really, in the end, up to the four of you to,
Yeah.
you know, to decide that and work through that.
That was my assumption, was to create, that's why I created a big list, so that it could be parceled out when necessary in the future. It's modifiable for other purposes, but I don't think we should edit it ahead of time. I think, you know, if you're gonna go through the trouble of making a really nice looking document like that.
Well, I guess, yeah, and looking through
Never do it all.
AJ's version, you have a row for each species, like, period. And cultivars can go in a column. So I agree with that approach. I think maybe we have like more columns but you're arguing, no, there should be a row for each cultivar too.
No, I think that there should be a row for every size. And so things will get repeated in a different size section. So you're gonna have Acer rubrum in the large trees, and Acer rubrum CV is gonna show up in other size categories.
I can get behind that, because it also helps highlight to people who don't know a lot about plants of like, it's not just any Acer roof, yeah, like,
Right.
yeah, like further highlights that where if it was hidden in a column, yeah. Yeah, I like that plan. So 2 changes, adding the cultivars in based on size. And then fixing the non-native icon thingy. Otherwise, it looks amazing. Thanks for both of your hard work on putting together these lists.
No problem.
Yeah. Then the exciting part of like making a decision about what we recommend from the master list to planning, which can take on many shapes. So, but a conversation for another day. If there's any other comments about the list, I motion to file the tree list conversation.
Well,
And
Madam Chair, you're technically not, I guess, done with it.
Right,
Yeah.
are we gonna review it?
So do you want to leave it in old business? And
yeah,
discuss it, and so it's there? That's, my recommendation would be is to keep it in old business so it's there. Because otherwise, we're going to have to add it again
yeah,
as a
that's
new
true.
business item.
Yeah, motion to keep in old business.
Second.
Thanks.
Commissioner Alton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. I'm just making some notes for our next May 6th meeting. We can maybe vote on a finalized list with updates. Okay, next is talk about tree ordinances. Yay! So we had done a lot of research as a commission on ordinances, looking at what other cities have done, what other cities have researched tree ordinances. I particularly found the City of Cambridge's website to be a delightful resource. They had a consulting firm do a bunch of research on ordinances before making recommendations, and they posted a lot of their materials on their website, which I thought was really nice and inspiring. Perhaps the City of Worcester, we can consider providing some of the documentation that's informing the tree ordinance change to the website at some point. But okay, in agenda notes is our wonderful Word document where I've been keeping all of our notes from our meetings, summarizing some of the things that have been coming up in our research and talking about. And there's 2 tables that we had a little bit of homework to kind of rank our discussion. And the first table is a list organized by issues, where I've made a column for what does our current ordinance say in regards to this topic and ideas for changes. And that's table 1. And then table 2 is a separate list of potential issues and our current way that they're being dealt with and ideas for changes, so similar format, but it's all in the realm of topics that are outside of the scope of a tree ordinance. So it's things in planning, things that Michelle Smith brought up during the March 12th commission meeting. I left it there in the figure legend. And so these are things Michelle brought up as what they had identified in their research as some of the current protections for trees and regulations for trees and subdivision regulations and zoning ordinances. And you can see the ideas for changes is a bit blank on that one. But I wanted to use this as a way to structure our conversation around these different items and what we think is appropriate and going back to the goals and responsibilities of this commission. We're an advisory, we exist in an advising capacity, so I see it as our goal to put forth a recommendation of how we think the tree ordinance should be changed based on the research we've done and the knowledge we have of the City of Worcester, and what makes sense here versus some of these things make a lot more sense in different cities that have different forest dynamics going on. So, okay, so ranking, I see Joe Johnson did his ranking. I also, so there was an idea of ranking the discussion.
I ranked too, but
Yeah.
not until this morning.
Okay, cool. I know.
Yeah.
And this
I
was
didn't
like-
complete ranking, where I put my initials in other places, I decided it was important, but I didn't know where to put it.
Oh,
yet.
beautiful. I have like no strong opinions about, so the ranking objective was to just, there's a lot in this table, and to just kind of guide our conversation of like where to begin.
Can I
was
ask you
the idea,
a question
yeah.
or two? Because when we deal with this last column here, where
Ideas.
ideas for changes, just start typing?
Yeah, we
Okay,
could do that.
I put JJ and then just
Yeah.
put my section
You
here.
can either, yeah,
Okay, this
um,
long column here, does that mean that this
gets
significant
really
tree
long,
goes,
you
applies to all of
can-
these?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
If you see a bunch of rows that have been merged within a column, if several rows have been merged, it's because that topic addresses all of it. And then I did like a little darker gray and light gray to kind of break up those little.
Okay.
But if you do have like really detailed suggestions, I would mark those with your initials, which I see like Robin has RA recommendation. Maybe I wrote that one, but we can like, if they do get really crazy long, have like a footnote of like, put it at the bottom of the table. Okay, so people ranked. Let's see if we have, I'm looking
Are
at
you
the
able to
most-
sort them in a way that we can, like the,
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of hoping we'd all rank it the same. Didn't quite, but I could sort it, but we disagree slightly in how we ranked them. So I think I'm just gonna use these as a guideline to just jump in and start discussing changes. Which before beginning, I'm keeping an eye on the time, and I feel like we could talk about this for a while. We do have some new business items to not be ignored. So I'm gonna put a little time limit on our discussion. Okay. The other thing to note, which I noted earlier, is that in the Google Drive, there's a document called draft_tree ordinance, which is our existing ordinance that I put into a Word document so that we can like, as we're thinking of things that we would like to make as recommendations, we can make them very concretely. Like, how would this actually fit in the ordinance? Like, what would the language of the law look like, which none of us are lawyers. So obviously recommendations that should be edited by others, but I find it helpful to kind of have that as in the background there. Okay, and as a reference. Okay, so we're gonna start with ranking the issues of significant tree language added and replacement cost as an issue. That's one that comes up a lot. And there's a number of different ways we're currently addressing that, and many ideas for changes. So there's no significant tree language in our current ordinance, only addresses replacement costs being comprised of by DBH, and then I provide like the current kind of breakdown there. There's a replacement cost ratio of a 1:1 of DBH. Every inch lost is replaced with younger new trees. No heritage tree language or exceptional trees language. No specific numbers, and private trees are not under consideration. So those are kind of 4 current situations for which, in our tree ordinance research, cities have addressed those concerns by defining a significant tree, which I see one of our other commissioners put as their number 1 definitions, which I added in as a section. That wasn't actually something that came up in our commission meetings so much as when I was starting to compare ordinances across different cities. I noticed that many had like a section in the beginning of definitions that were very detailed. Ours currently is just like, what is a park tree? What is a public shade tree? So this was more keeping track of like, what are things that we think is important to define in a tree ordinance? So other cities have done things like define what is a caliper, what is capital improvement project, what is a city tree, what is DBH. removal, replacement caliper, significant tree, so adding definitions that have regulatory significance in regards to how those trees are treated. And also defining roles and responsibilities of tree wardens, of senior urban forestry and landscape planners, as well as the commission, which is done in the Boston ordinance. So we have the role and responsibilities of the commission, but there's an opportunity in the current way the ordinance is written to expand upon those definitions as well. So looking at those kind of two topics, what do we feel strongly as a commission, and we can vote, if that's one form we could take, is like put in a vote of like this should go in the ordinance. But as a commission, remembering our goals is to put forth a recommendation on like this is how the ordinance should be changed. What are the things we think should be changed? Should we define a heritage tree? Should we define a significance tree? Which one, or does both make sense for the city of Worcester?
I think
I have
that,
my
like,
opinions, but
I think significant and heritage tree, I don't think they need to be different things. I think a significant tree can include the age of a tree and the historical significance. So I think it might be helpful just to pick one phrase to cover the size of the tree, the age of the tree, the importance of the tree, et cetera. It's just
well,
to
I
make
think
things
that's why other cities use heritage tree or exceptional trees, because the size of a tree, and we've talked about this as a commission, is like if you just put a size on it because it's a significant tree, well, that really, the significance of a tree, however you want to define it, like maybe just ecosystem services you're providing, changes a lot size-wise depending on the species you are. So I think that's why some cities have gone in the direction of both the historical legacy component too, but like language like heritage tree or exceptional tree moves away from it just being size dependent and gets more at that like why is.
I like that phrase, exceptional tree.
I like exceptional too, yeah.
So.
We're going with exceptional trees as our,
So
is that what I'm hearing?
when we find these trees, for instance, we have a tree inventory. So we've already done a tree inventory. Was there any part in our tree inventory that looked for special, significant, exceptional trees or anything like that? No.
It didn't get coded by
Because we
DB that
haven't,
way, no.
we don't have that method to how to determine it.
I think it would come up, like, for public trees, it would come up every time you guys have to take something down.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it
That-
depends on how you define it.
that's what I mean.
If you define it specifically and bring it down to its level of DBH location, then we can specifically look for those DBHs, and then at least you'll have numbers to go by rather than assumptions.
Sure.
So numbers are super important for that. So if you say everything above 32 inches in a historical part of Worcester, we could then probably go and look in, if there's a historical part of Worcester, let's say, and this is general, I'm being very general, in District 5, then we could go to District 5, pull all the 32 inch, if that's how it's defined, and then we could bring it up and evaluate from there.
Okay.
But that's only public street trees now, not private property.
Yeah, I was
We've
gonna
got to be
say,
very definitive on that.
yep, so when we decide to tackle the,
And just because a street tree is 32 inches in a sidewalk on Park Ave isn't going to define it as a significant tree. There's a lot more other than size to bring in.
would you like to give us your
Well,
recommendation?
if it's uprooting the sidewalk, pushing the curb out, then we really have to relook at the whole street.
Right. I think we understand this is aside from safety concerns.
Well, yeah, it's just because it's pushing the curb out doesn't mean we're gonna remove it, but there's an infrastructure issue there that potentially could if a construction project was coming up, sidewalk rehab, then that would make it difficult if it was a significant tree to move forward with particular projects, if the infrastructure is affected.
Yeah, I think
I
all
think
the,
if we're gonna define it, my idea would be, for future, would be an open space, parks, areas where you can really put your efforts into preserving the tree for the future. We do have a few now. The beaches, we have what? The Oak in Elm Park. One at University. And we try and maintain those with mulch and fertilization, and so we can maintain a tree that's declared heritage, where it becomes difficult once you get into the public right away.
so all of these towns that we are studying the ordinances for, they all have language that helps the forestry department make quick decisions about street trees and construction trees. So whatever ordinance we recommend, whatever language we recommend, we'll make sure to include that so that we are still thinking about street trees and other public trees, but that it doesn't interfere with the work of forestry.
Yeah, I'm not worried how it interferes, I just want to make sure that the dynamics that come to play are all considered. However you decide that and recommend to the commissioner and the administration is up to you. And then we can peel the layers off it as it progresses.
But it sounds like you all have, there's no language in the tree ordinance around heritage trees, but you have identified the heritage trees that are public trees and are.
Yeah, so
maintaining them, so
years ago, the
we could-
Department of Conservation and Recreation, back in, when I first started in 1999, 2000, there was a grant program for heritage trees, and we were very successful year after year after year. I think we have 4 or 5 of them at this point throughout the city, and achieving those, and there was a grant, 50%, they would pay, and then the city would incorporate 50%, depending on how much the maintenance, cabling, whatever we decided, we would write that up, and then we would get the designation from them. Since then, we have not, because the DCR doesn't do that anymore. And we do not have the time to go around looking at 4 heritage trees. It's just not in our purview right at this point.
You know, I was gonna suggest that since the EOED is kind of working on this issue, it seems, around significant trees and private property. And I'm not just saying this because it was like my #1 ranking. You know, that maybe that's one of the things that we should start making language around and really, you know, prioritize so that maybe we can get some recommendations to them or to work
Yeah,
with them
same.
in some way.
I think that's a good plan, especially, yeah.
And one of-
Focusing on what recommendations we would give planning. So wait, does that mean you're actually saying prioritize items in table 2?
I don't have the table in front of me. Which one is that? That's
I-
the one that,
I saw that your ranking,
mhm.
Robin, was the significant tree language.
Yeah,
It's
and the
like the
private
first one, yeah.
property.
Yeah.
But then you know, this is why I was asking Rob questions about enforcement too, because if we're gonna recommend, if we do study this issue and we make a recommendation to this other group, then I think we also would have to make a recommendation about enforcement and where, as Rob said, where that lives and where the ordinance lives, because, you know, Brian said they don't, you know, they don't have a staff, these other commissions don't have staff. So I think we'll just have to, it's gonna require a little bit of dedication on our part to really like get some concrete ideas.
Yeah, that are enforceable.
I'd like to add one thing to the conversation, including canopy cover as to where the tree is located. So a tree that is, whatever, 10, 20 inches in diameter has a lot more value in one part of town than it does in a higher canopy area. So, there's a lot less larger trees on some sides of town than the other. So if, just blanketly putting a large number on whatever we decide to call it, is inequitable, because I have bigger trees on my side of town than you do on yours. And so we need to take that into consideration, that the trees are bigger and nicer on some sides of town than others. So what is significant or heritage or whatever, and what's contributing relatively on one side of town isn't, it's not the same.
That is true. So how do we start to gather ideas about that? Because I noticed, like, in other towns' significant tree language, there's a lot of variation. Like, some towns say 8-inch, DBH is a significant tree, some towns say 25-inch. And how do we make an equitable decision that doesn't, for private property, like, that doesn't become a hindrance?
Yeah, my only experience, like, with trying to do something like this, ash trees in Providence, they treat 2,000 of them annually, and trying to decide how to manage ash trees in Providence, they had managed more than 2,000, but trying to determine how to manage what they had and and which ones not to manage. All the ones that were in, I don't know what the starting number was, I just know what they had when I started working there, which was about 2,000. And so they had a spreadsheet, and they gave points based on where the trees were located, what the existing condition of the tree was in Tree Keeper, and the size of the tree. And so it scored points based on where it was located, so like the canopy in that neighborhood, that part of town, the condition of the tree, and the size. And then if it scored high enough, then it is treated for emerald ash borer. If it didn't, then it didn't get treated and it died. We removed it as it needed to be removed. So I don't know, is the short answer. But there was a scoring system which complicates, like, it complicates things, because it's not as simple as just pulling it up in Tree Keeper and seeing what the species and the DBH and the condition, because I don't know if Tree Keeper, and maybe it can, it ought to be able to at this point, be able to account for canopy, but I don't know that.
Can we use that graph that's in the master plan that we have about,
It seems like you ought to be able to overlay
zone?
it and, like,
we can give more points to the zones,
and
to
then
the,
have, like, the data points on
Yeah.
top of it. Yeah.
not zones, what are we, districts, to the districts that don't have as much canopy, we can give, like, lower DBH.
Yeah, and like, American Forest has tree equity scores, so like maybe you could just overlay it with like tree equity scores, and you could, I don't know, now I'm like getting out of my depth,
Mhm.
but
What is a tree equity score? I'll look it up myself, but
it's
Pretty coarse though, aren't they?
pardon?
They're pretty coarse though. Spatial resolution of the tree equity, I think, is pretty coarse.
Yeah, it's, what do you call it? Census block districts. And it's not updated. It could be refined. Like my company refines that data further before we use it in a community. But tree equity score is a combination of canopy cover and census data, so like who's living there, what their average income is, what their health data is, and you can see like the indicators of health and race and stuff.
Can I
So,
throw-
not to complicate things, but
No, it's a
Can
good
I
point.
throw my 2 cents in?
please.
I'm seeing, we've got this one way, we're looking for all of these statistics that we can throw out there so a tree can be street identified as a heritage tree. You know, it's the first time I've seen this tree. I get out my measuring tape and I take a look at it, run this around, and I can make the decision right there whether I can take this tree today or it's protected. Or we have something in the middle that says the tree is this size or has this characteristic. It now has to go to a heritage tree review on that side. In other words, there's a decision. Or third, that we see a tree that we want to preserve, then there's a process in the city or town where the public or us, or anybody can enter a tree as needing protection. So I see it as 3 ways. A hardcore instant thing that makes our city services efficient because we can just make that decision on the spot, to something that gets very complicated and takes a long time. But which one is the complicated one? This is beginning to become extremely complicated to put numbers on the trees. I can see why some towns end up just saying this size, and then that kicks it in, because it ends this endless going over and over of these settings. So if we just have a couple of simple things that kick it off, that, you know what, it didn't meet those, I can deal with it. It met these, I have to ask somebody.
Yep.
That's kind of the way I think it would be more efficient. If there was a set of standards that said was absolutely not a heritage tree is the identifier, and this is a candidate for extra looking, extra care, extra thinking. That's kind of the way I would want to protect things. Is it a tree where I need to think extra, or is this guy covered? If I was, trying to do work efficiently. So that's my 2 cents. If anybody wanted to consider that, but, because I think all this dealing with these little measurements, one town says, 12 inches, one says 20 inches. We really don't know the value of what a diameter lends to a tree either. And like we said, the diameter makes different things depending on where it is. There's so many factors that I think there should be a trigger point for a human decision, and the other one should be street done. I don't have to think again. That tape just showed me, and I'm done.
Yeah. But what's that trigger point? I guess that's the.
So the trigger point is what we're trying to
That's the
settle on.
thing.
And
Yeah.
it's a number. And when it comes down to it, in the end, it's a number, because is there any research that says at what point a diameter of a tree makes it more valuable?
Yeah. And that's why some cities don't put in a number. Like our city ordinance does not have a number. It doesn't have like a significance tree language, heritage tree language, exceptional tree language.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just to keep in mind too, it's like, obviously if they're causing damage or injury to people, this is a conversation for someone wants to contact the city and get rid of a tree. These are
Okay.
like the,
So
no,
we
we
show up.
can't.
We show up,
Yeah.
we decide, we take a look at the tree, we measure it.
Mhm.
We look at our list and it says it's bigger. Now we have to go to other considerations. Are we saying size is going to be the initial decider of whether a tree's significant or not? What's the first thing? Is it because somebody said that tree's significant? That's the first step? Or is it, I put the tape around it and it hit 21 inches? Size, significant.
It sounds like it's the beginning point for the easiest piece of data that is searchable, at least in the public tree keeper database.
Yeah.
And
Why
then if it's under X number, then you can move on to the other considerations, like, is it valuable? Is it 275 years old? Is it, you know?
I could pull out all, well, yeah, that too. But as far as the diameter, I could pull out all of the plans in New England that include diameter and take that and get that average. And I can do that fairly quickly with my tools. That would give you a number.
I think I did a lot of that work for us.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't have a document, I just have my notes, but
Yeah,
if you have,
there-
if you have a document.
I'm agreeing on the method for determining that number, and we can go from there. I don't know what that number is, but that's,
Yeah.
that's how I would determine a number. There's a whole bunch of people that made the decision, I'll use a little democracy and grab them all and average them.
I'll put what I found
Yeah.
into everybody's
But I'm
notes
just
so you
used
can
to
see
moving
it.
ahead, kind of business-wise on things like that, or decisions like this. When I see something taking that long, and having so many little pieces, I think we need to do something
The other thing
simpler that's not too simple.
I'm thinking
and-
about is like, what is the objective? Because at the end of the day, the Parks Department decides you decide which trees come down or not. This is really a matter of like citizens wanting to get rid of a tree, to put in a driveway, to whatever. They're contacting the city and being like, requesting to get rid of a tree. And the protection of that tree, like, one, it's a stopgap of like, if someone wants to get rid of a tree, they go on the city of Worcester, they look at the, one would hope they look up the information and then they're scared away, like, oh, that tree is really big, can't put my driveway there. So it sets a expectation for citizens of like, this is how, like, you can't request to have this tree taken away, no matter how much it's annoying you or whatnot. And it gives the city an ability to be like, no, citizen, we're not getting rid of this tree and have like a data point to point to instead of just like, because it's not causing any harm. But you currently have the power to do that anyways.
So,
And then
I'm not
it's
gonna
the
drag this on any
Okay.
longer, but
Third.
it's a big onion to peel layers. And I'm gonna tell you, that perspective is fine. But on our end, as public servants, in what we're trying to do, not just as forestry, but with all the departments, our biggest thing is, and I'm just giving you some of the pros and cons. So it's not just about getting rid of a tree. If a resident calls up and our goal is to reduce on-street parking, and that tree is impeding, under Mass General Law, we can hold a shade tree under the tree warden, and decisions are made. So balancing is taken, but there has to be some reality to this situation. Like, we can't keep people on the street if they're requesting off-street parking and a particular tree is in the way. It's not to say that we're gonna take it down, but we can't box a resident out that we serve who wants to put their car off the road and enhance their property as a taxpayer. So there's a huge balancing act there that I think you could put a dynamic into play where we could look at those. But to say that the city has teeth behind that to say no is, we don't want to say no to everything. Because we as a city want to give those folks and us an opportunity to get off the street. So I don't want to keep going on, but these are some of the things. Just to come out and say, we'll give the city teeth, which is fine, but there's another whole side of this that has to come into play.
So what department would you like to see an ordinance live in? So if it wasn't, so
I think
this
it
type of
comes down to
ordinance.
perspective. So I think you need to come up, just for me being in the business, is first you have to prioritize and find what your priority is. Do you want to save trees on private property? Or do you really, the whole idea of the ordinance is to protect and preserve trees. At the same time, we have to have goals and objectives for the future. We have to improve sidewalks, we have to improve streets, we have to improve traffic flow. So this ordinance, like that one, or the base of it, lays with all of us. So when the commissioner does a tree hearing, we just did one for water and sewer upgrade. We do tree hearings for other departments, so that ordinance would lay over all when it comes within the city right-of-ways. It wouldn't lie specifically what you're talking about with one specific department. If
I
I'm
see,
just
I see, yeah.
bouncing off her response.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see what you're saying. So like, so the ordinance is the ordinance, no matter which department is going to enforce it.
And I think it all depends on each piece of that ordinance, right?
Right, right,
So
yeah. I mean, we
we're
can't,
splitting hairs at this point. So if you want to protect a heritage or significant tree, you have to define that, whether it's by crown size, where it is. And I think the other thing is, every tree in the city of Worcester is significant. You're going to get a group of people who are going to say, well, my trees are significant. You're going to get into that whole battle. So the way I liked it with DCR was a heritage tree. It took all of that out. It defined it by size, historical significance, location, and a bunch of other details I can't remember anymore. It was so long. But I think coming up with that scope and then branching out from there.
yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to come up with the language, we're trying to come up with the definition. I don't think that we don't enforce anything, we're just making the recommendation, no matter what language we come up with.
I agree. And all that conversation was just to respond.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I have
I
to
get
take
what
into
you're,
consideration, under the commissioners, every resident's request, and remember that they are a resident and they have legitimate concerns. That's our priority. So and trust me, there are times that they're crappy decisions, but
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if we, for example, say, have a definition for a significance tree, just give it a DBH, doesn't matter what which is in other cities' ordinances, like this DBH, if it's this
Sure.
big, doesn't matter what species it is, it's a significant tree and it can't be cut down, which means like said resident can't get their off-street parking.
or whatever
Do we wanna
else,
be doing
or a
that?
gas line,
Or
or
a gas line,
upgraded
or-
utility gas run.
Yeah,
There's a lot more to.
so what do you think should be the
I think the
recommended
significant
updates?
trees ordinance is a great idea. But I think first it should focus in areas, in my opinion, in this, you bring to the table whatever you want, in open space areas where the general public, in passive recreation areas, parks, municipal properties, start with that, in my opinion, first, where we can control it, maintain it, and the benefit is there in all aspects and corners of the city, because I don't know how many parks are in the city. I should know, but 64. And that's in all corners of the city. So if we're talking about equity, you can balance that out in different areas. Where we throw the dagger in is when you start getting involved with infrastructure and trees within those ways, in right-of-ways, in school properties, traffic flow, all of that changes that dynamic. I'm not saying you can't, but you better be ready for a hard fight.
yeah, I just wanna like reassure everybody here that like, I don't think any of us are looking for a fight. We're
No,
looking
I'm
for,
just saying,
we're
That
looking,
being,
f-
this
There's
has to
l-
be passed, though.
We're
This is like
looking-
a, yeah, this
Exactly.
has to
I
be.
know that, we're looking for
So we
a
need to be
s-
realistic about
we-
what we're
We're
presenting.
looking for
Yeah.
a start.
when I said a hard fight that's definitely not the way that was meant. When I say a hard fight, it will be a difficult, if you place an ordinance out there that is too tight and too constringent, it will make it very difficult to move forward.
Right, and
And
that's
it-
what I'm trying to say is.
But that's
we-
not a fight. That's what we deal with every single day.
I don't-
And there's a lot of layers that need to be peeled back. And there's a lot of improvements in the city, and we don't want to stop that forward improvement.
I hear you. So let me just repeat. We're not interested in creating hard, tight anything because we don't have the power to do that. We're starting with some language.
Right.
And some definitions, and we don't, like, none of us have the knowledge to understand what other
Right, and
departments
that's why I'm just
have to
giving you
do.
some
Let me,
examples
I
of-
know, and I appreciate that, but I just want to finish my thought. So, we just can't take, like, when we're crafting this language, this is the brainstorming phase. And
Sure.
we don't edit
Definitely.
ourselves during a brainstorm. We winnow down afterwards.
Agreed.
And I know that there are other considerations with development and, you know, people's needs as private landowners and what they want to do with their property. And we can't anticipate all the things that you're talking about, so we're just creating
Sure.
a start. And all of us know that this is gonna go somewhere else, and other people are gonna have their hands on it, and it's gonna get crafted into something after we let it go from this commission.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just giving you examples so you're not, so you have some focus or some ideas of some of the issues that we deal with on a daily basis that may, it's to give you a little bit of advice when you're crafting those.
Well, and I just want to add to, like, you are doing it every day. Like, your opinion counts a lot because you're interacting with residents, you're seeing these issues. You are, like, the current ordinance. You're the people that are looking at each tree that, like, a citizen is asking and requesting to be cut down. So, and that is, like, so important with these ordinances, is what makes sense for the community that we have and the issues that we have and the trees that we have, and, like, you're on the ground knowing those issues. So your opinion, I really want to, I personally am like, what do you think the ordinance change should be? As we kind of brainstorm ideas, because we're kind of bringing a variety of different expertise, which I love about our commission. We all have, like, different expertise coming to the table in this conversation. But yeah, it's really helpful to hear that. To hear, like, maybe what I'm hearing, and I'm taking notes on this, is, like, we should have heritage tree designation in an ordinance. And, like, it's a registry system, which we have some trees already. We can register more. And maybe we avoid, like I personally, my opinion is I think, like, a DBH cutoff value is not helpful. I think what AJ said is great, but then thinking about the nuts and bolts of how does a city actually execute that? Like, my brain instantly is like, let's put a buffer range around every tree and calculate, and we'll, like,
I'm just thinking about that one
I don't
zone that
know
we
if
have
that's
in
realistic
Worcester.
either.
That one
So-
district, you know, it's not 3, is it, you're 4, right? Your
I'm 1.
district, oh, you're 1. So is it District 4 that's downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just
District 4 is
thinking,
all Main South and that whole area, so it goes from, sort of Chandler Street up towards Park Ave, and then down Park Ave towards, University Park and Main Street and all that, goes that sort of direction. That's 4.
okay. Yeah, with regard to what AJ was talking about, I was just gonna suggest maybe we just look at that one district because they have the lowest canopy and just give like
Yeah,
a,
with this onion idea, I love that idea. Yeah, like layers, like start off with one district, the one that we know has very little canopy cover, and not these huge parks that we have in Worcester. They don't have as many. That's a good idea. Another idea too is, like, we have this inventory. We as a commission can have it as one of our goals to work towards updating that inventory so that there is, like, a column that has a score that provides, like, we don't have it in the ordinance of, like, defining significance tree, but we have it in the data that you all have as you go up to a tree, like, have calculated those values of what is the significance of this tree to this community based on how much canopy cover it has and what we know about size of trees and therefore functions of trees. which could help in making those decisions of weighing like, should we have off-street parking and a utility here or get rid of this tree? So, okay, I put a timer on us because I knew we'd get into some fun conversations, which has been a really good brainstorming and discussion. But in the interest of time, I am gonna put an end to our conversation on tree ordinances. But one last comment before going on to the rest of the agenda is thinking about, we have 2 more meetings. Is it realistic by our June meeting to have as a commission a draft of like, these are the recommendations? Do we think we could move through? I feel like we've really chewed up this first one, and I can envision like us voting and that being our way. Like, how do we want to move forward as a commission and giving our recommendation? Do we want to ask our foresters to tell us what they want the ordinance update to be? And then we can, no.
Wait, I have a
I think so,
suggestion
but
that maybe,
thought I'd ask.
maybe we don't have to have a finished draft for the EOED. Maybe we have just like a list of notes to give to them to go back and forth with, to start a back and forth, instead of like, here's the finished, like, or whatever. It doesn't even have to be back and forth. It's just an idea. But
Yeah.
we could at the end of 2 meetings.
How about this? I have this table, and we ranked conversations, so like the next 2 meetings, I'll come back after everybody's put in their ranks, including mine and AJ. I think you did too. You're there in there?
Yeah.
So as we talk, we'll talk about all these items, but homework assignment is and just think about, what's your opinions? These are all opinions, right? Like, that then have to be voted on by the entire, like, so come with like, having already thought about these issues and where you stand on them. Like, do you want to see a significant tree? And we'll start off the conversation with like a little bit of a vote and then explain your reasoning and then hopefully come to consensus over concrete recommendations for changes. So that's our goal for the next 2 meetings. Sound good?
Yes, can I, one thing for the document about significant trees, I've been looking for it, and I think this is what happens. In Warren, Warren, Rhode Island, they have a significant tree, program on private property. The tree has to be giant. It has to be 54 inches in diameter. It's voluntary, and you legally, they have the tree, an easement put around the tree. And
Oh, that's interesting.
that's how they protect it in perpetuity, which could be a thing. Cause like, it's always a question, like how, like you're gonna protect it. And so I don't know, Warren is putting easements around these giant trees on private property.
And it's just a DBH, not species specific either.
Yeah, it's, I was just looking at the,
But it's also like not every single tree, like they're making designations, kind of like heritage trees. Like we've gone and identified as experts, like this is something we want to protect.
yeah, and their form is kind of
So
silly.
Will you just put it into
It's
the-
kicked off by the measurement and then decided by a group.
Yeah, not just the measurement, which I
Will you put that into
personally don't think we should do.
the doc, and then we can,
Well,
let's
it's gonna be
research it.
highly resisted 'cause it's
Oh, well.
everywhere.
All right.
But a lot of ordinances have it, which,
They're-
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
pretty
really
familiar
that
with
much
Warren, they're
extra
pretty
work.
casual down there.
So Joe, and you're saying like, let's pick a flow, a workflow?
A trigger
Yeah.
point that we could agree on, that, yes,
sends
this
you
is
in a
probably going to
direction.
be a heritage tree, or yes, this could be an important tree. We better not touch it right this second. There's something else we have to check. There may be a people-to-people process going on, not just a rule.
All right, well,
Because
homework
a lot of what these
will come.
our
Okay.
city people do is a person-to-person thing. There's not everything is cut and dry rules. They have to make these decisions all day long.
Yeah.
So I think a
Which is
trigger
why one
point-
argument is to just leave it up to the tree warden, period. Like,
Well,
this is the current ordinance, like.
Yeah, that's the
it's-
current
yeah,
ordinance, yeah.
Which is also an option, so. Okay, so come next time, we've kind of like started to brainstorm and chew on these. Come next time with like your opinions of like what you think we should recommend moving forward. Should we only put definitions on private trees or public trees? Should we change the way replacement costs ratios are defined, make it higher? Look through the table and come prepared with like where you land on this argument. Okay, so I'm going to, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm gonna try. A motion to file, or to, actually, okay. A motion to keep in old business city ordinances. Am I allowed to do two motions at once? And a motion to file goals for the commission?
So we'll do the first one for the ordinance,
Yeah,
right? And then we'll do
One
the
at a
second
time.
one afterwards.
I kind of knew the answer, but.
All right, seconded for both.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse.
To clarify, this is for the first.
This
Yes.
is for B,
Yep.
which is the ordinance.
And keeping
Yes.
it in old
We're gonna keep it in
business.
old business.
Yes, yes, yes.
Commissioner Winberg.
Yes. And then a motion to also keep in old business goals for the commission.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, we're on to new business after a lively discussion. Yay. Okay, we got 3 items. The first is request from AJ Elton to discuss the Pleasant Street redesign, which I saw that we have in our agenda notes, some designs to review.
Yeah, it's actually, not even to discuss it, was speaking with a friend at Mass DOT, and he shared plans that he thought, we probably had not seen yet. So, Joe, I don't think I'd seen the original plans, I'd just seen your notes on it.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe we'd share these plans, and if, I assume we'll have questions, and he said he could provide somebody from Mass DOT for the May meeting. So assuming we'll have questions, I can try to hold him to providing somebody for May.
I will take a look at these and put it with the other stuff that I did for analyzing that area and see if I have a few questions.
I think the others were 25%, these are 75%.
Yeah,
so
the
I
25's done, they're on decent, they're in the middle of 75% finishing up.
And Dan Rassicott and, I don't know their last name. It's my daughter's friend's dad, who also works for DOT, but a few people have, and I don't even know why, have told me that I shouldn't be put so much attention to the work on Pleasant Street. We should be paying attention to the work on Chandler Street. So, I don't know. We should probably be paying attention to both.
Well, it turns out it's a significant amount of effort to try to analyze one of these things, to see which trees and everything that's going to be done. And I worked from the documents that were in the 25% setup. So, you know, my concerns are just for, you know, critical root zone management. There's a section here where a lot of trees are going to be affected. There's a lot of sidewalk and a lot of invasive plant work. But what part of this, as a tree commission, are we, last time we dealt with this, are we responsible for? Or will we be doing? Because there's a lot of these projects. And we don't really have a method to review them. Other than, you know, to go over these plans and look at the aerial maps and see where the trees, the existing trees are that are gonna be affected. So, yes, I'll do that. I don't know what we need for a motion or anything, but.
From what I can tell, whether, like, Virginia, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all departments of transportation are putting their people through training to drive constituents crazy and to avoid real answering of questions. I may have to break up with my friend before the end of this. So,
Yeah, well, the project is this
I
complicated.
no
you-
longer respect what he does as a person.
Why would you want to bring in a lot of opinions?
Yeah, it's, DOT leaves a lot to be desired on a lot of levels,
Okay.
in my experiences.
But I appreciate that we've at least got this chance to take a look at this, or I got the chance to take a look at this.
Madam Chair, I'd recommend keeping it or putting it into old business.
Okay,
So that we have it there and you can look at it, and then if there's questions. Commissioner Elton, did you want those questions ahead of time? Or do you want them, so, ahead of time to get to Mass DOT so they can respond?
I'm sure they would appreciate that,
Oh,
yes.
you got a delivery date for that, for me?
I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before our next meeting, if that's possible. That would,
Okay, I'll have it done in 2 weeks. And
So our,
get it into the,
thank you for asking that, Rob. Yeah.
so our next meeting is the 6th. So you're gonna want it sometime around the 22nd, which is 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that would be great. Try to,
And if the commission can send those to us, and then I'll get them to Commissioner Elton, or he can give me an email that I can send it to. I think that would be the best course of action. And then and then what I'll do is I'll include those questions as part of the agenda, so that they're clear in regards to what you were asking, and then but it gives them some time for a response as well. They can dig something out or whatever they may need to do.
okay. Appreciate it.
All right, a motion to keep that in old business or move that to old
Move it
business?
to old business,
Yeah,
yes.
move. Second?
Second.
Commissioner Elton,
yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. Next on the agenda is a request from Commissioner Johnson to discuss the UFTC review, which I believe is, well, I'll let you take.
All this stuff that we've had before. Okay, I did this back in February. Which one are we talking about now?
I believe it was a, yeah, it was a.
Briefing memorandum, Urban Forestry
Okay.
Tree Commission?
Yeah, so some context, and it's in the agenda notes, but the Urban Tree Committees of New England describing past, present, and future regional trends is an article that was sent around to the commissioners that we had presented as a discussion point, and Commissioner Johnson put together a review of like what the science article, so we were included. Worcester was a commission. I don't know if other people talked to someone. I remember talking to someone, but they did a survey of all the different commissions across New England, and then started to analyze like different information about how they're functioning.
So, anyway, to keep this really quick.
Yep.
Let's just talk about, I looked through all this, condensed the article using AI, and pulled out the implications for Worcester from that article, because we talked about that one being central to the problem. So, the implications here, we wanted to formalize our volunteer capacity. Is one of the things that was common to all of them. They implement a simple quarterly performance dashboard. Might be a good thing to do. I see that we're already including that in some of our reports, and we're working on it. Frame tree work is infrastructure maintenance. when we're talking about it, hazard mitigation, storm resilience, and public safety. Integrate invasive plant management into the core urban forestry planning. That's happening throughout New England, as noted in this report. Maintain clear coordination roles between UFTC department and the tree warden. That's what we're working on, constantly. And expanding the youth, school, and neighborhood-based engagement and strength representation. So my only conclusion there was that a lot of this that we're talking about was our focus more than anything else in the plan that was noticed, is that these changes, we're beginning to move towards looking at other things. Invasive plants are becoming more important. I'm kind of biased in that direction. But that was all I wanted to mention in that summary really quick.
Yeah, thanks for summarizing that. It was something that came out recently that we were like, oh, we should read it and discuss it and see if there's any nuggets of insights.
So I did.
Thanks for summarizing those. Yeah, and we've talked in past meetings, dashboard isn't the way we talked about it, but I think like other commissions have like newsletters, like quarterly newsletters, so we could maybe do something like that the city could put on their website pretty easily,
Some form of
Yeah.
something that we release.
so that people aren't like digging through agenda notes. Kind of summarize it as a 1 or 2 pager.
Well, it allows us to energize the public,
Yep.
which comes here
Little
before
fact
us
sheets that
to
we-
bring up issues.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Any questions, comments, or discussion on that? Otherwise, I would suggest we file it.
File.
Motion to file, unless there's,
Motion to file.
yeah.
Second?
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. All right, our last agenda item is something I just wanted to share.
Yes.
Exciting news about urban forestry related topics, something that we've done in the past, just keeping that trend moving forward. So I just wanted to share with the commissioners and also put this new grant opportunity on everybody's radar. So the state has, through Fish and Wildlife, or Fish and Game, has a new grant program to enhance biodiversity throughout the city. This was their first year. I think they got over 200 applicants and they awarded, it's in the agenda, I think like 10 grants. And so it was fun to look through and see who got it. The Ecotarium got one, but also Regional Environmental Council in Worcester got one as well to set up a variety of pollination gardens throughout. I do know that they have another call this summer, so if we have any exciting biodiversity, tree-related initiatives, there's that state-level grant program going on that I wanted to put
When-
on
do you know when
everybody's
the-
radar.
You know when the submission is?
What?
Do you know when that submission would be?
They haven't announced the summer submission. I just know that it's going to occur. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Also, different projects throughout the city or throughout the state in regards to kind of enhancing green infrastructure in cities. Many of the grants were in city areas, but I motion to file that agenda item.
Seconded.
All right.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse,
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. We have reached the end of our agenda. So if there's no further discussion, any lingering, our next meeting is May 6th, and we have some homework assignments for our tree ordinance, putting together our opinions, data-driven opinions. Yeah.
I have a comment from, or a question from the public that Mr. Paul Poppinchock wasn't able to raise his hand earlier. Can I ask his question now?
I see no reason why not. Yeah.
Does the Urban Forestry Commission have any concerns about the proposed development of multiple single-family homes or four-story apartment buildings on the open space off of Suburban Road that will result in a major loss of trees between Newton Ave Extension and Haviland Street? Best regards, Paul Poppinchuk.
So that would, you can't discuss it.
Yep.
Because it's not related to anything really. It'd be a stretch. So my recommendation is if he wants that, we would want him to request it, or we can, commissioner can request it for the next meeting to add it onto the agenda for the next meeting.
Yep.
So, that would be my recommendation. Just because, gets a little dicey because it's a very specific question and it's not
It is
on
very
the agenda, so.
Can we add to the agenda for next meeting the proposed development of the multiple single-family homes or four-story apartment buildings on the open space off of Suburban Road, please?
Okay, making a note for our next meeting. Great. There's no other question or comments. We can, meeting adjourned.
Well, I
Don't we
need
have
a
to vote?
motion and a second.
Yeah.
I can't just,
No?
Motion.
All right.
this is my
Second.
motion.
Seconded.
Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraway Waterhouse.
Yes.
Commissioner Winburn.
Yes. Need to bring a block of wood in. Thank you, everyone.
Robin, what?